You know that feeling, right? When you're locked in a stare down with a baby and it feels like they're looking right through you deep into your soul. Well, it's a feeling every parent and caregiver knows. But it turns out that intense gaze is so much more than just a cute baby thing. It's actually one of the most incredible processes in all of human development.
So what's really going on behind those big, curious eyes? What have scientists discovered? Let's dive in. And I promise you, this is a journey that won't just change how you see your baby, it'll change how you understand the very beginnings of the human mind itself.
Okay, first things first. Let's tackle the biggest myth about why babies stare. For the longest time, we had a pretty simple, and as it turns out, a totally wrong idea about what they can actually see.
The old theory went something like this. Newborns stare because their vision is kind of blurry, and they can only really focus on things about 8 to 12 inches away, which, hey, that's about the distance to your face when you're holding them. It made sense. But new evidence tells a much more amazing story. By 3 months old, their vision has improved so much they could see pretty much everything in the room. But what did they choose to look at? Your face. This isn't a limitation, it's a choice. A profound one.
And that choice is where things get really mind-blowing. Because that stare, it isn't just a baby passively looking at you. It's an active biological process of connection. Your baby is literally, and I mean literally, syncing their brainwaves with yours. To really get this, we've got to look at this incredible study from the University of Cambridge back in 2017. Researchers wanted to know what was actually happening inside both the adult's and the baby's brain when they locked eyes. The key concept they looked at is called neural coupling. Now that sounds super technical, right? But it just means that the brainwaves of two separate people start firing in the exact same rhythm. They literally get on the same wavelength. And this chart just shows it so perfectly. When the adult looked away, there was basically zero sync. When they looked at the baby with a neutral face, yeah, there was some. But when they made direct eye contact, the neural coupling was off the charts. It was the strongest they had ever recorded. Two separate brains, one rhythm. So what does this all mean? It means your baby is actively using your brain as a blueprint, a sort of template to figure out how their own brain should work. That stare is how one human brain literally teaches another human brain how to be human. So we have brain syncing, which is amazing, but it builds from there, because that stare is also your baby's main way of gathering data, of having a conversation with you long before they can say a single word. Okay, but here's a fascinating little twist that came out of Harvard. Researchers found that babies at 3 months old actually stare longer at a stranger's face than at their own parents'. Now that seems completely backwards, doesn't it? Why on earth would they do that? Well, the answer is something called the violation of expectation response. They stare at the stranger because that face is a new, unsolved puzzle that they need to figure out. Your face, on the other hand, is like their favorite book. They've already spent hundreds of hours studying it. They're not confused by you, they are reading you. And this reading process has a name. It's called social referencing. It's a critical stage where your baby looks to you, their trusted guide, to figure out how to feel about something new. Your face becomes their instruction manual for the world. And you see this every day. A strange dog walks by, your baby looks at the dog, and then immediately snaps their gaze to you. If you look scared, they freeze up. If you look happy and calm, they might even coo at it. Your emotion literally becomes their reality. And get this, by just 5 months old, they're already so good at this that they can tell the difference between a real smile and a fake one. So we've got brain syncing and we've got emotional data gathering, but what is all of this incredible activity actually building? Well, it turns out that simple, loving gaze is physically constructing the architecture of your baby's brain. To really understand this, we have to talk about a famous and honestly pretty tough to watch experiment from 1975 called the still face paradigm. It was designed to see what happens when that visual conversation just stops. So here's what happens. First, a parent and baby are playing, smiling, connecting, everything is wonderful. Then, at a signal, the parent's face goes completely blank and unresponsive. What the baby does next is just heartbreaking. They immediately try everything to get a reaction back. They smile bigger, they point, they make little noises. And when nothing works, within 90 seconds, they show real signs of distress. They need you to talk back with your face. That experiment showed us just how deep the need for that interaction is. But research from MIT shows us the result of it. Those back-and-forth facial conversations, what researchers call serve and return, are literally building the physical hardware of the mind.
And it's not just any part of the brain. We're talking about the prefrontal cortex. This is the brain's command center. It's in charge of planning, emotional control, and complex social skills later in life. So every time you hold their gaze during a feeding, or while you're playing on the floor, you're not just bonding, you are doing construction work on the most important part of their brain.
Okay, I know that was a lot of science, but what does it all mean for you as a parent, day to day? How can you use this? Let's turn this all into a simple, practical guide. So here are some really general milestones to just keep in the back of your mind. Right at birth, they can focus on your face. By about 3 months, they should be actively tracking you with their eyes as you move around. And by 6 months, that social referencing we talked about really starts to fire up. They're actively checking in with you to see how they should feel. Now we have to address this question, and we need to do it gently but directly. What if you're noticing that your baby isn't really staring, or maybe even seems to be actively avoiding eye contact? Researchers are pretty clear that a consistent lack of eye contact can be one of the earliest signs of atypical social development. So, if your baby is consistently avoiding your gaze, or doesn't seem to follow your face, or kind of looks through you instead of at you, those are just things to be aware of. And the most important thing here is not to panic. Every single baby develops on their own unique schedule. But we also know that the brain is most open to change in those first few years. So if your parental gut instinct is telling you that something just feels a little off about that gaze, trust it. You are the world's leading expert on your child. So let's end with this one powerful thought. The next time a baby locks eyes with you, remember what's really happening. Their brain is reaching out. It's syncing with yours, and it's using your face to learn how to exist in this world. When they stare at you, you are not just their caregiver. You are their architect.